Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking movies and TV shows. I'm going to give you guys my recommendations for things to watch this summer in case you're bored. Even though quarantine has been lifted in most places, we're not going to be going out and doing as much things this summer as we probably would if we were not in the middle of the pandemic. So I wanted to come up with a list of movie and TV show recommendations for you guys. I am going to be covering films across 4 different streaming platforms. So we are going to be doing Netflix, Crave, Prime Video, as well as Disney Plus. And for each, I'm going to give you guys 3 main recommendations, 1 movie, 1 TV show, and 1 wild card, which is whatever I want. And then I do have a couple of honorable mentions. Of course, these streaming platforms have so much content that it was difficult to narrow it down to a list of 3. If you guys have seen my Meet the Kittens video, you will know this already. I did graduate from film school in April of 2019. If you have not seen that video and you do want to learn a little bit more about me and my family, then it'll be linked in the cards above for you to go ahead and check that out. I did graduate in 2019. I got a bachelor's degree in film and media production. I did go to film school. I do know a little bit more about film and TV than your average Joe, but with that being said, I'm definitely not a person who has a stereotypical like film school taste. I do love artsy films. I love complex films, foreign films, old films. There's this stereotype for people who have gone to film school or are going to film school that their taste in film and TV is kind of pretentious. And you guys will see from my list that I do not have that kind of taste. I don't have that kind of taste at all. I have I would say kind of an eclectic taste in entertainment. So we're gonna get started with Netflix. Okay, so Netflix, my first recommendation is of course going to be our movie. For a couple of them, I did pick 2 movies, and that is because I wanted to get a mix of genres. Some of the films that I'm gonna recommend might not be your taste. If I had a movie that was a very particular style that I know not everyone enjoys, I did want to put different movie genres. So for Netflix, I did pick 2 movies. So the first movie is called The Half of It. That's a new movie to Netflix, written and directed by Alice Wu, and it stars Leah Lewis, Daniel Dimer, and Alexis Lemire. I really like this movie. This one is like a teen romance. What I really enjoyed was multiple things. What I really loved about The Half of It is the authenticity of it all. Their main character was Ellie Chu. She was the daughter of an immigrant in a small town living poor. Ellie is dressed down. She just wears like jeans and a sweater, and I think that's really refreshing to not have these like glammed up teenagers who are 25 and look like supermodels. To kind of have more of a realistic protagonist to root for is really refreshing. This film is actually a LGBTQ plus film, which I didn't know that going into it. I was kind of expecting the kind of like implied heterosexual relationship to work out. When I realized that this was an LGBTQ film, I was kind of disappointed. And I really wanted to mention that feeling that I had of like disappointment when my ship didn't become canon. It was kind of a wake-up call of like, girl, imagine how the people that you know, the people that you love, your friends and family who are LGBTQ plus have felt in their underrepresentation of media. And I think that's really important for us who are white and straight and cis to empathize with people. So getting deep for a second, just wanted to talk about it. My next Netflix movie recommendation is The Meg. That one was made in 2018. The Meg stars Jason Statham, Ruby Rose, Ryan Wilson, a bunch of other amazing actors. I really enjoyed this one. So this one, of course, is an action film, and the premise of the film basically is that a retired deep sea diver who does rescues is called onto a mission to go and rescue his ex-wife, who has gone below a layer of mist and has entered into the deepest part of the Marianas Trench. And while there, they do discover, of course, a megalodon. A weirdo like me and you like to watch like PBS documentaries about old-timey sharks and dinosaurs and whatnot, then you will definitely really like this movie. For my Netflix bingeable TV show, I picked Modern Family. I've been watching Modern Family a lot recently. I think it's so funny, it's hilarious if you guys love sitcom-y type shows. I was reading some trivia and they had initially written in another character who was a documentarian for an exchange student who was staying with the family, and that's where that mockumentary style initially came from, but they decided to keep it anyway. So if you like that kind of Parks and Rec office feeling, but if you're looking for something a little less slapsticky, so Netflix has 10 seasons of Modern Family currently. Okay guys, so my next recommendation is my Netflix wild card. My wild card for Netflix is End of the World, and this show was released in 2017 on Netflix. Currently there is 2 seasons. A teenage boy named James and a teenage girl named Alyssa form a connection and they go on a road trip together. I do want to give this one a little disclaimer. This one does have a good amount of violence, and when there is violence, it's usually kind of gory. Overall, the show is pretty dark. I loved the show. I just watched the first season like in one sitting. It was so just captivating, beautifully shot. For my honorable mentions, I have The Umbrella Academy. This one was of course shot in Toronto, which makes it extra special. And my second honorable mention is Dare Me TV. This one I'm purely bringing up because somebody that I went to school with who was in the acting program was in that show. Her name is Addison. It's good. It's really good. I liked it a lot. Now we are moving on to Crave. So my movie recommendation for Crave is Guy Ritchie's Snatch. Snatch was released in 2000. It stars Jason Statham, Brad Pitt, Benicio del Toro, and a bunch of other awesome people. Like, this is like it's a pretty good cast overall. Snatch is a multi-narrative, which means that the storylines of multiple people, multiple groups of people kind of overlap and intermingle, and we get kind of multiple stories at once. Unscrupulous boxing promoters, violent bookmakers, a Russian gangster, incompetent amateur robbers, and a supposedly Jewish jeweler fight to track down a priceless stolen diamond. Snatch is in my top 5 favorite films of all time, so this one comes very, very highly recommended from me. For our Crave bingeable TV show, I put RuPaul's Drag Race. If you guys have Crave, I do hope you also have Netflix, because if you want to watch all of RuPaul's Drag Race, you need both. Because Netflix has RuPaul's Drag Race seasons 1 through 11, as well as season 4 of All Stars, whereas here on Crave, it only has seasons 5, 6, 8, and 12 of Drag Race. But it does have all of our All-Stars. If you don't know what Drag Race is, it is a competition show where drag queens compete to become the next drag superstar. Okay guys, and my wild card for Crave is Penny Dreadful. So Penny Dreadful is a historical drama in which they have reintegrated characters from popular horror genre, such as Dr. Frankenstein, etc. One of my favorite people in the show was Eva Green. It's definitely got a balance of, you know, historic, dramatic, monsters. It's super, super good. Again, this one's a little bit dark, but it's very captivating. I loved it. And they just also recently released on Crave a spin-off series, and that is called Penny Dreadful City of Angels, which I have not seen yet, and I have not finished all of Penny Dreadful either. My Crave honorable mentions are Space Jam, because duh, as well as Letterkenny. So of course, gotta shout out to my 2 fellow Canadian content creators. I have 2 movie recommendations for Prime Video. My first one is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is the new Mr. Rogers biopic. It focuses on Fred Rogers' relationship with a journalist named Tom. This is of course based on a real life story. It is a biographical picture or a biopic of a portion of Mr. Rogers' life. I thought this one was really beautiful, and I thought Tom Hanks played Mr. Rogers really well. And for my second movie recommendation, we have another film that was based on a true story. This one is Brittany Runs a Marathon. This one is a Prime Video original. It's kind of like a romantic self-help journey where this woman is kind of like in rock bottom. She was living kind of a messy life, and she turns to running, and she loses weight and kind of gets herself back into order, and of course she runs a marathon. A bingeable TV show, and what makes this show bingeable is the sheer amount of seasons. This is something that I personally have been binge watching with my partner since the quarantine lockdown started, and that is Supernatural. So if you guys have already seen some of Supernatural but not all of it, I definitely want to encourage you to do so. There is a few seasons where it gets a little wonky, but we just started season 13, and seasons 11, 12, and 13 so far are some of my favorites, hands down. I did watch Supernatural a lot when I was a teenager in high school. I was a huge fan. Two brothers basically are following in their father's footsteps, and they become hunters who hunt monsters. A little bit spooky, ooky, lots and lots of monster hunting and monster fighting, as well as some really cute bromance moments. Then I would definitely check out Supernatural. So my wild card for this platform is the Amazon original Hunters. When a teenage boy's grandmother is murdered, he discovers that she is actually a Nazi hunter, and he follows in her footsteps to try and avenge her death. So this, of course, did come out in 2020, if you guys haven't seen it already, and it stars Al Pacino as well as Logan Lerman. Because it's new, it only has one season out, but it was so interesting to me. I loved this one. It was, again, a little bit on the darker side, obviously. They're a Nazi hunter. So there was like death and murder and stuff, and it does discuss some horrors of the Second World War that, you know, we would rather forget and not think about and not know about. And my honorable mentions for Prime Video are Ink Master and Bob Ross's The Joy of Painting. On Prime Video, they have seasons 10 through 31. Our last streaming platform is Disney Plus. I was on the fence about whether or not I wanted to include Disney Plus. However, if you guys are like me, you got it when it came out and you used it for about a month, and now you barely ever watch it. So if you guys are looking to get some more use out of your Disney Plus account. So the first recommendation is the movie, and for that I chose one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. I'm gonna honestly say maybe even my number 1 of my top 3. This is the one I rewatch the most often, and that is Remember the Titans. So that was released in the year 2000 and directed by Boaz Yakin. It stars Denzel Washington, Will Patton, we got a baby Hayden Panettiere, and also a young Ryan Gosling. And it is the story of Virginia's very first integrated football team. You guys aren't sure what I mean by that. I'm talking about during the times in America when white people and black people had to go to separate schools. And this was during the time when they removed that segregation and were combining the schools. I am not a sports fan, but I love football movies. Okay, so my TV show for Disney Plus is Gravity Falls. A brother and sister go to live with their uncle for the summer and work at his museum of like weirdness, and it turns out that the forest actually is like filled with monsters and stuff. So it's really funny. I would say kind of Rick and Morty, but more PG. My final recommendation, my wild card for Disney Plus, is all things Lilo and Stitch. So on Disney Plus, we have Lilo and Stitch, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, as well as the Leroy and Stitch movie, and it also has the Lilo and Stitch TV series. Guys, Lilo and Stitch is just like my favorite Disney movie. It's so sweet and so heartfelt, and as somebody, you know, I'm the second oldest of 5. I have 3 baby sisters, and I can really, like, that sisterly love thing is something that I can really relate to. My honorable mentions for Disney Plus is basically everything. If you guys like watching Disney movies and you like princess movies or whatever, then it's got like everything on there. I love Aristocats, Robin Hood, Jungle Book, Lion King 1.5. If you haven't seen that, that's so good. If you guys want to find some really good nature documentaries, then Disney Plus is actually a great place to find those. That is it for today's video. That is my recommendations for my summer 2020 streaming watch list. If you guys check out any of my recommendations, leave a comment down below letting me know if you enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. It means so much to me. I thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.